Hey, we're doing it? All right, we got sound. So, if you don't know me, my name is Mark, and I am known on YouTube as Truepokerdealer, and I am here to answer questions. Right now, I'm actually at Dania Point in South Florida, and it's been an interesting couple weeks for me. I haven't been at Texas Card House as much as lately, but I am here right now to answer questions and do. Let's tone this down a little. It seems like the volume's a bit too loud here. So I am here to answer questions and say hi to everybody. And I've had some really good sessions with some of you lately, and a lot of good stuff going on. First of all, I have to give a huge congratulations to Texas Card House and the city of Dallas. They actually won the appeal. I mean, such tremendous news. Back on March 22nd, if you haven't heard, Texas Card House in Dallas did get approval from the city, from the court system. They won the appeal, and that means poker is there to stay. So, we give them some claps, a round of applause. That was not supposed to happen, if I'm being blunt. The way that politics are set up, like, that just wasn't supposed to happen. I wasn't there to see most of the stuff, but I saw all the posts about it, and obviously that's a place, Texas Card House in Dallas, I've spent a lot of time. So the fact that they were able to get through the legal system and keep poker at Texas Card House in Dallas is pretty damn impressive. Shout out to all the people who showed up, all the poker players in Dallas that decided to support, all the staff at Texas Card House, the people in charge, all that stuff. Like, that is huge. And I don't know what that means is coming next in Dallas. You might see more poker rooms open up. You might not. I'm not sure what that's going to look like, but it's a big victory there. So, huge congratulations. Fiending says, good afternoon. And another person says, yeah, I don't know how to read the language that name is in, but appreciate you guys showing up in the chat. Again, I am here to answer any questions. Like, I'm sort of traveling right now. I'm not in my home setup. It's a little bit difficult for me to do live streams, but I still wanted to jump in and say hi and do this and give everybody a chance to interact with me and all that stuff. Joshua says, hello, I've dealt in private underground poker games, and I'm looking to deal professionally at legal poker. Woo, yeah, nice, that's awesome. Poker rooms, casinos, how would you get started? Maybe I misread the woo, and I thought it was excitement, and it was just, a part of the comment. So, first thing that you want to do is polish yourself. A lot of underground poker dealers, because they're underground games with different expectations, they have a lot of habits that they develop that nobody's correcting. And so in a professional casino where you have surveillance and procedure that surveillance needs in order to be able to do the job properly, and just a totally different expectation, you have to go and you have to learn the technical mechanics and make it look like you're a casino trained poker dealer. Because one thing about doing auditions, I've probably done close to 1,000 auditions in my life at this point, and you can absolutely tell, like, right off the bat, when somebody was trained in underground and they never put the work in order to train themselves to be technical in casino. So things like the shuffle, the cut, like cutting with one hand versus two hands, for instance. If you cut with two hands, then you're not doing it casino. But underground games don't generally care about something like that. Your pitch, your mechanics in general. My course on YouTube and on Truepokerdealer.com can definitely help with something like that. Or if you can find a poker dealer that works in casinos, that can really help make a difference as well. But yeah, that's the number one thing to me. In order to get from underground into an actual poker room that's a non-underground poker room, the mechanics is one thing. Another thing is, if you got connections, maybe some of the people that used to work with an underground or still work with an underground, they've made their way into casino. Find out what that particular poker room that you're trying to get into wants. That makes a huge difference as well. And feel free to ask follow-up questions on this if I haven't answered you as thoroughly as you'd like. Anish, hey, what's up? Hey, Mark, I just got your mixed games lesson. I have questions about stud raz. What do you got? I'd like to hear it. What questions do you have about stud raz? Feel free to answer or ask it here. Or you can send me an email and I'll do my best to get back to you. By the way, I have had, it's probably a little windy right now. I have had a lot of people lately asking me questions on like Facebook chat for the group, and hold on, let Let me see how much noise this is coming through it. I don't have a ton of options for where I can do this right now, so yeah, it's sort of blowing it up here. I can see that. How do we fix that? I don't know. Hopefully the wind will just die down. I have a lot of people who have been reaching out to me on Facebook and other ways like that. I just want to remind everybody the easiest way to get a hold of me, which sometimes I'm available, sometimes I'm not, but the easiest way to get a hold of me is an email, and I'm putting my email right here. This is the simplest way to get a hold of me, or you can do support@truepokerdealer.com. So mark at truepokerdealer.com, mark with a C, or support@truepokerdealer.com. Those are two much easier ways to get a hold of me. Anisha, are there the types of questions about stud Raz that I can answer in a chat, or is it the type of stuff that I need to see you in a one-on-one? I do one-on-one sessions with dealers. They are paid, but I'm always happy to do a one-on-one session. It's a video session, and I do basically a mock audition where I watch all the stuff that you do. So if you want to do a session like that, it's always available. Joshua, with the $4.99 Bravo, definitely appreciate that super chat. I guess that satisfied the question. Appreciate you very much. Let's see. Fiending. Do casinos teach dealers how to deal before they're hired? Generally, no, but sometimes. It just depends on where you're at. You might find a place that has a class. Let me try to put my hands here to block some of the wind. So if you're lucky enough to find a place that's offering a class, sometimes they'll charge anywhere from $0 up to $1,000 for their class in an actual casino. And that class will get you in the deal. Sometimes you got to jump through some hoops because the casino expects from you. I've even seen recently, because of the dealer shortage across the country, I've seen recently in Florida that some places were offering money for you to take the class, which blows me away. I've never seen that before now. But most of the time they expect you to know how to deal on your own, and classes are generally taught by poker rooms and casinos where they have trouble getting qualified people. So that's sort of more along the lines of what you can run into, but they are absolutely available in different places. I've heard of it. At any given time, you should be able to find somewhere in the country, but not everyone's willing to move, of course. Ryan says, hey Mark, what's up? Hey, what's going on? I went to poker dealing school and supplemented with watching your course online. That is a fantastic way to learn how to deal. It is what it is, to toot my own horn. The reason I kept the price point where it is because compared to the cost of dealer school, it's really not that much, and you give yourself the ability to gain perspective, right? A lot of the time when you go to dealer school, they sort of tell you to teach it their way, and when you learn it their way, you can run into a problem where what is it that happens? You're unaware that there's not just one way to do it. When I teach my course, I give a lot of perspective, and I also cover a lot of technical details, and you can go back and rewatch stuff, and if you miss anything, it's still there for you, which is something that I'm proud of, having built that whole course as well. So I appreciate you saying that you did that, and hopefully you got out of it what you needed in order to give yourself an even better chance of succeeding. Joshua says, also, do you think the World Series of Poker would hire me to deal for the summer? I mean, the World Series of Poker always needs a ton of dealers. They're hiring. I don't know the timing of it, but I think they're into the hiring. So you'd have to check and see here. Let me see if I can look online and see when they do their hiring. 2022 dealer info. When are they doing auditions? You need to know their 19 games, which they have listed right here. It's, can I put this in the chat? Let me try to copy and paste this in the chat. These are the 19 games that they have listed. It says it's too many characters. Oh man, hang on a sec. Now what I'll do is I'll just put a picture of it up instead. Let's see here. let's see. Well, I'm just going to read this. It says you need to know no limit Texas Hold'em, limit Texas Hold'em, 7-card Raz, 7-card stud, 7-card stud high-low split 8 or better, 7-card stud high-low split regular, deuce to 7 triple draw low ball limit, deuce to 7 triple, or deuce to 7 low ball, deuce to 7 draw low ball no limit, ace to 5 triple draw low ball limit, Omaha high only limit, Omaha high-low split 8 or better limit, Big O high-low split 8 or better pot limit Texas Hold'em, pot limit Omaha high-low split 8 or better, no limit 5-card draw high, Badoogie, Badoosie, Badacy limit. And those are the 19 games that they have listed on here. Those games are, like, you don't have to do every single one of them in the audition. They pick 3 of those basically, plus they have you do no limit Hold'em. So, you know, to hire you for the summer, I'm trying to see what the timing of it is though, because it's not always clear when they have filled their staff. But here, this is how to contact us. WSOP audition scheduling. So I'm going to put the phone number for audition scheduling in the chat. So this is the phone number in order to reach them. I'm not affiliated with them in any way, but I'm on their website right now. And this is the email in order to get a hold of them in order to possibly get hired. All right, so that's how you find out any information about the hiring process for the WSOP. And let's see. I mean, so the WSOP does have a pretty high standard. They have sort of this like expectation. I remember hearing from dealers over the years that, like, if you cut the deck and then put it in your hand and then take your hand and push it like this, that, you know, they don't like that. Does that mean that they're not gonna hire somebody? I'm not sure, but you know, they do tend to be pretty picky, and also at different times they're probably pretty desperate. So I'm not sure which phase they're in right now. You know, I got offered to be a Florida MGM while all this stuff was going on for a tournament series out there, and I didn't get back to them quick enough because I was sort of undecided because my life is sort of all over the place in a way that I enjoy. But you know, I sort of had stuff like that in my head, but I'm not going to be out there as it turns out, I don't think. Let's see. Anish says, I had a hand that was 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 8, 8. Is that 8, 7 low, or is it counted as a straight against the player? Let me see. It's been a second since I dealt Raz, but I did teach this in the course. I went through all of that. Yeah, that's what I thought. So in Raz, straights and flushes do not count against the player for low. So in this particular case, which I absolutely should have known this with a snap, but it's one of those things where I can take a second to be humble and just look it up again, because, you know, when you haven't dealt these games in a while, deuce to 7 is the one where straights will not count the hand as a winning hand. But other than deuce to 7, ace to 5, and Raz, they're all just like a regular low. And so 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, which I said it the way that I would personally read it. Instead of saying 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, I would say 8, 7, 6, 5, 4. And that is going to be an 8, 7 low. Let's see. And I do believe I teach that in the course, but can you actually let me know if I don't teach that in the course? Oh, Anish says before April 15th. I think that you're referring to the WSOP audition schedule. Skylar says, what kind of manager jobs are in Texas? I know a Skylar in Florida. I wonder if this is the Skylar that I know. The Skylar that I know has an incredible skill set in poker in terms of knowledge about the game and all that. What kind of manager jobs are in Texas? To my knowledge, you can get just about anything out there. The poker rooms seem to have GM titles out there instead of like poker director, because the people that run the rooms are also running like the food and beverage, because it's usually like one building in Texas where all the stuff that you have for poker for that poker room is represented within that building, and the person in charge of all of it is in charge of everything. So there's different structures because it's sort of like like legal underground rooms is what I would say. Why do I say legal underground rooms in Texas? It's not because they're really underground rooms when they do it right and they get the CO and all that stuff, which is the permit that allows them to operate. It's just more like they sort of structure their room around that. So they have this dynamic in Texas where, you know, the GM is the one that handles the cage, they handle the poker room, they handle the food and beverage, they handle I mean, what I'm used to saying in Texas Card House is the hosts. They're the ones that greet people, and they also call the hosts the ones that do in Florida what we call the brush job, or what. But I think it's actually called hosts in most of the country, where they like take names for signups and stuff like that. But under the general manager at Texas Card House, they have an AGM, which is an assistant general manager, which I actually think is a very important position. They handle things like scheduling, hiring, and sometimes they even pick up a couple of floor shifts. And then they have, I think they're shift leads, but I don't remember the terminology. I've seen it 100 times and I forget it. This is the first time in my career, honestly, where I've worked somewhere in a poker room and I've literally just buried my head and been a dealer. I generally prefer to be more than a dealer, but right now I just know that I'll get all caught up in everything, like fixing the room, thinking about making improvements and all this stuff, and I don't have the headspace for that. So dealing is just the direction that I've gone. But those are the types of manager jobs. It's like the assistant manager, the people that, you know, you get somebody that's in charge of the cashier, but it's one person. So at any given time, the person who's the manager on duty, which is terminology I'm creating, I haven't really heard that in the industry, but it's effectively what it is. The shift manager, or whatever you want to call it, they're the one that is responsible for keeping having all the answers at any given moment. And then there's the supervisors and yeah, so, all right, one more time just to say it. From what I've seen, you get general manager, then you've got assistant general manager. Depending on how big the room is, you might have one or two. And then below that, you have like the shift managers who are on duty at any given time. And then you've got just the regular supervisors. And, you know, from what I've seen, all of those positions are available on the regular. The more experience you have, the more of an edge you have in Texas. Why do I say that? Because for a long time, especially before this decision in Texas, people haven't been so comfortable in management positions coming out there because there's a little bit of fear, like, well, what's going to happen legally with poker in Texas? Even though, you know, it's been done legally in some poker rooms, it's still variable, just like we found with the whole hearing and everything. So there's a lot of questions and stuff like that. But hopefully that answers your question, Skylar. And if you're the Skylar that I'm thinking of, hey, what's up? Let me see. SI says, scrolling through YouTube last night, there was a high stakes tournament live stream last night at TCH Dallas. High stakes tournament live stream. So every Saturday they do their big tournament final table. It's usually a 365, I want to say, and maybe the beginning of the month, every month, they increase the buy-in and the prize pool gets crazy. And so that sounds about right to me. Yeah, that would be in Dallas is my guess. Joshua says thanks. Yep. Ryan says, you can get hired as only a Hold'em dealer for WSOP this year. Oh yeah, I saw that. I did see that. You can get hired only for Hold'em. I totally forgot about that. Thank you so much for bringing that up. Somebody was telling me that. I don't want to say his name was Randolph. Thank you for giving me that information. Yeah, that's an interesting new thing, and it might just be because of the number of dealers that are skilled that are available. Like the WSOP would absolutely rather have people who are skilled across the board, so that the dealers that know the mixed games and all that stuff aren't stuck always dealing them. But at the same time, it sort of is what it is. If you can't get enough people to staff it, then you can't get enough people to staff it. So I wonder if there's some type of incentive for people that know all the games. Maybe they get more in some way. I also heard that the WSOP is guaranteeing, and I totally might be messing this up, but I heard that the WSOP is guaranteeing a minimum dollar amount per down. And I'm curious if anyone has any information on that. You know, I've been traveling a little bit lately and sort of out of my normal routine. So my normal conversations that I have, you know, it hasn't been the same for me. But I definitely do remember hearing something like that. Let's see what else we got here. SI says it was no longer live when I saw it, but the date, if I remember right, was for yesterday. Yeah, that totally makes sense. Nancy says hi. Hey, Nancy, you were on the live stream a couple weeks ago. Nancy is somebody that I've definitely started working with, and she is an absolute sweetheart, and she does help poker dealers learn to be better at what they do, and sometimes helps them pass auditions. And we're doing a fun little test right now with Nancy to see what it looks like for me to get some help with the one-on-one video sessions. And I'm about a third of the way through looking through that session, Nancy, so hopefully I can get to the rest of that today. Let's see. Fiending says, how much do they charge for session fee at TCH? So there's two separate charges in order to play poker at Texas Card House in Dallas. The first charge is the membership fee that you have to pay in order to be in the room. I'm putting my hands up to hopefully block the wind a little bit. That charge is $10 if you want to just do it for a day, or $30 if you want to do it for the whole month. And then I think there is an annual fee that I don't know that many people get, honestly. $30 a month is the one that you can really think about. And then it's $13 per player per hour, that while you're actually playing at the table, or you have a seat occupied is what I should say. It's not while you're playing, it's while you have a seat locked up at a table, then you're paying $13 an hour. And even though it does sound like a lot, it actually comes to less than if you were to play in a rigged game in a lot of situations. So, unless you're the type of person that plays, a hand and then you're up for 10 minutes. But if you're actually playing a game of poker, it's a bit cheaper to do it that way, which is interesting. Something cool about it, though, is it keeps a lot of the money on the table. Nancy says, Ryan, that's so interesting, Wsop hiring for Hold'em only. I was in a room recently that had Hold'em only dealers and was shocked. Yeah, I thought it was interesting when I saw it too, but the times are different right now, and the industry often reflects what happens with the times, Fiending says, is working in a casino very time consuming? I mean, it can be. So sometimes when you have a new room that's opening, sometimes you get as much staff as you can, and the business is what the business is. So sometimes you overwork the staff a bit, especially toward the beginning. I know at Texas Card House Dallas, when they opened, they were just banging. People were banging the doors down every single day. And, I heard stories about some people that worked there who were voluntarily helping out. It's not like they were being forced to do this, but some people were voluntarily working like 90-hour weeks and loving it because they loved getting the money for it. And yeah, it was pretty interesting to hear about all that stuff. It just depends. It really does depend on, like, one of the things about casino that I like, or poker that I like specifically, is you are not locked into any specific amount of shifts. It's like you're either going to be full-time and generally work around 40 hours, or you're going to be part-time. And nowadays, it didn't used to be like this 10 years ago as much, but nowadays it's a lot easier to give up and pick up shifts than it used to be. Like Texas Card House Dallas is a huge example of that, but not every room is quite like that. But still, there's a lot more flexibility with little software programs that poker rooms use where you can gain extra shifts or drop shifts if you want. And because the base pay for poker dealers specifically is low, a lot of the time you have that flexibility to work even more than 40 hours because the overtime isn't really that costly to them. Now, that being said, the supervisors and the shift managers are sometimes the ones that get jammed up with a lot of hours. Especially during COVID, I heard stories about people would get COVID that work there, and you need people to fill in. And so there were some people that got worked pretty hard during that time, and that can be rough. But I think of it, because, remember, I did most of my time as supervisor and shift manager. Okay, I've dealt for a combined 5 or 6 years. Maybe a little less than that. I think it's been, hold on, let me do the math. It's like 4 to 5 years is what I've dealt for. So I've done most of my time, like almost 7 or 8 years as a supervisor. And being a supervisor for that time, I'm just aware you can really jam up, get a lot of overtime and all that stuff. But there's a more heavy burden on you sometimes to be there more often in times that are needed, like big tournament series or stuff like that. Also, the better you are at doing the supervisor job, the more you are desired by the poker room to be there in the busiest of times, right? So sometimes that job's a little more intense. But my favorite thing about the industry is I never take it home, right? It's not an industry where you have homework or you have to do extra work outside of when you're there, in my experience. Like when I was a shift manager, there was some of that, you know, but you're also salary at that point. It's a different thing a lot of the time. Let's see. Ryan says, yeah, you can pass Hold'em or mixed games or both. They're also planning on holding a free class for mixed games for procedural training, I believe. And then Ryan said $15 a down for Hold'em and $20 a down for mixed games. Also 12.5 hourly guaranteed, Mark. I do remember seeing the 12.5 hourly guaranteed. I don't remember where I saw it, but that resonates in the 15. So that's where I got 15 from. It was 15 down guaranteed for Hold'em, 20 a down for mixed games, which is it's a smart thing for them to do, honestly, to guarantee downs, because now you're incentivizing people to know more games. There's a benefit to it, and I mean, it's sort of weird because the money that comes in from each is now being distributed by people who are making the decision instead of trying to keep it pure per down, the money that comes in. But I like it because it's just something that they have to do as long as they can do it legally, which I assume they can because of the World Series of Poker, but I know better than to assume it and just like have 0% chance in my head that anything's going to go wrong with that. Let me see. Given by your background, are you back in Florida? I'm in Florida today. I'm out here exploring something. I don't live in Florida. I still live in Dallas, Texas. Although I miss my place when I'm gone. But yeah, let me see. Anish says it's hard scheduling an audition. I've been having problems getting in touch with the lady. I've left her numerous messages and got in touch with the vice president of recruiting. He's been trying to help me, but no result. I put this email that I have right here, tfan@caesars.com, is listed on their website, and this phone number that I have up here is listed on the Wsop website as well. My apologies if you've already done all this and you've tried to get this info, but this is the thing that I've seen just at a quick search while I was doing this live stream to see how to get in contact with them. Personally, one day maybe I'll enjoy dealing or flooring the WSOP. That day hasn't come yet. I'm still in my head. I'm still like a kid. I want to play in the WSOP again. I played one bracelet event one time in my life and loved it. Let's see. SI back. We'll be in Dallas in a few weeks looking to check out TCH. Oh, for sure. Make sure you get there sort of early. Otherwise, you might have to wait a little bit. It fills up every single day. They've got 19 primary tables, one stage table, which is a live stream table, which when they're busy and there's not a live stream, they still do use. And then they have 7-ish tables that are sort of temporary tables that they put outside that get filled up every day too. So the strategy to use in going to Texas Card House Dallas as of right now, I would suggest you get there, usually by, I want to say 4 o'clock, it's pretty full. So if you get there before that, you should be good. If you want to get there after that, make sure you put your name on Poker Atlas before you leave your house or your hotel or wherever you're at. That will make a big difference. You will skip some of the list by the time you get there. Let's see. Skylar says, which card room is the biggest, most popular in Dallas? There's two that really stand out to me. In Dallas, actually, it's just Texas Card House Dallas. I was going to say there's two in Texas. The Lodge has been doing a great job as well. But even the Lodge isn't as big as Texas Card House Dallas in terms of how many games they get on the regular. There's just not a lot of competition in Dallas, and Texas Card House Dallas just does it so well. So that sort of is what it is there. Like I said, I've been dealing there. When I'm in town, I've been dealing there for about a year now. It's been March of last year that I started, and I've been nothing but blown away by how busy they are. And there's a couple of competitor rooms out there and then a bunch of underground rooms out there that they started shutting down some of the underground rooms. But the other competitor rooms out there, they just don't get the same business as Texas Card House Dallas. The players talk about it all the time too. Like, it's this interesting dynamic where they just know that the games are at TCH Dallas, so they just keep showing up, and we do a good job when they're there, so they got nothing to complain about. Also, the players in Dallas are so nice. They are not your players that are trying to tilt people. these players in Dallas are unbelievable human beings, and that is rare in the casino industry. And I absolutely love that. Let's see. Joshua says, "What do you prefer, being a supervisor or a poker dealer, and which one pays better?" I mean, honestly, I prefer being a supervisor. I do like wearing the suit. I do like the logic problem. So every single floor call is basically a logic problem, right? Every single time you're trying to figure out the answer, you're using the rules as guideline, you're using logic, you have to come up with something coherent. You can't blindly follow the rules, but um, you have to understand what it is that you're doing. And I mean, there's just something like wearing that suit. You get a certain respect from people, but you also have to earn it. It's a really nice thing having like learning. You learn, in my experience, dealing poker. There's a lot of learning that goes on for a couple of years. Once you get to that point, after that, like being a supervisor, the learning really does continue. And supervising is more than just floor calls. It's taking care of people that work for you, taking care of the guests, understanding that flow and that dynamic and all that. And um, yeah, but they're both good. For what it's worth, they're both good. It's just, as a supervisor, I feel like I have more ability to help more people that I'm close with in the poker room that I'm working at. And like I said, the only reason I don't do it at Texas Card House Dallas is once I sort of dive in, I dive in deep. And nowadays, I'm more of an entrepreneur, so I've got all this other stuff going on in my life all the time. Imagine I'm traveling a lot, so imagine what it would be like for them to have a supervisor that's only there sometimes. It's much easier for me to be a dealer like that. Going back to Skylar, like if you're the Skylar that I'm thinking of, which I'm pretty sure I'm right, if you are interested at all in checking out one of those rooms out there or seeing, if you could get in or anything like that, let me know. They're always looking for good people. And, from what I remember about you, you are one of the most skilled people in the industry that I've met. Let's see. Fiending says, how long do you deal for before taking a break, and how long are your breaks? Good question. COVID changed this a little bit for some rooms, but in general, the industry does 30 minutes of dealing at one table, then you go to another table, you stay there for 30 minutes, then you go to another table, you stay there for 30 minutes, then you go to another table, you stay there for 30 minutes, and that keeps going until you get a break. So there's a rotation, the supervisors figure out what that rotation is going to be, and you just keep going to the next table, the next table, the next table, the next table, until the moment when you are done, right? Meaning they'll tell you when to go to break. In general, 3 to 4 tables is the industry standard before you get a break, and that break is also 30 minutes or a little like 26 minutes, 25 minutes, something like that. And so it's a really cool job because you get like a lot of the time you get 3 or so 30-minute breaks per shift, which is a lot of downtime. At the same time, you have to be responsible with those breaks, right? You can't really be using the bathroom in between tables because the person whose turn it is to go to break is waiting for the first dealer to go to the table to push the second dealer, to push the third dealer, to push them so that they can get their break, right? So if dealers are using the restroom and stuff in between, you got to be a bit responsible like that. But yeah, so the thing I said, COVID changed a little bit. Some rooms do 40 minutes because they wanted there to be less swapping of people. One thing about dealing poker is while you're dealing, you're like locked into the table and you're doing a bunch of multitasking, and it's a heavy focus and it never stops. So in my experience, the nature of this job, oh, it is Skylar. Maybe we meet up while you're in Florida. Sure. In my experience, the nature of this job as a dealer is it's very all-consuming, and you actually need those breaks. Like, I try to shut my brain off when I'm on break. Some dealers are chatty and all this stuff, and I totally get it. But for me, I try to totally shut my brain off when I'm on break, because then I can go hard when I'm dealing, right? You get more hands out, you get more money as a result of really taking that break. Let's see. Nancy says, prospect fails audition. Auditioner says, watch Mark's video practice, come back in 60 days. Do you think it's appropriate to contact before 60 days if you feel ready? Let me see. Prospect fails audition. Okay, auditioner says, watch Mark's videos, practice, come back in 60 days. Do you think it's appropriate to contact before 60 days if I feel ready? Yes. It's tough because like you never know what it is that you're being measured according to, right? So the hypothetical that Nancy's asking here is you've got somebody that runs an audition and the person fails the audition in a poker room. And they say, all right, we're not going to say you can never get a job. We're going to say, we'll give you another chance, but we want you to practice for 60 days. Why did they say 60 days? Because they made it up and they think that's the right amount of time for someone to get good enough. Or maybe they saw the level of skill that somebody had and they say, this person is going to need 60 days of practice to get better. And they tell them to watch my videos, which I do get this feedback sometimes. I mean, when somebody feels ready, most people that are auditioning and they've never had a casino job before, most people in that scenario don't know that, like they don't know what an auditioner actually requires in order for them to pass the audition. So because of that, who's to say that the person, when they say I'm ready now, is actually ready, right? So I mean, you're not hurting anybody if you wait 60 days, but I mean, it's also sort of impressive if you say I can do it and then you come through. But that to me, that's a bit case specific. I don't see any harm in just waiting 60 days. But I mean, look, people like people with confidence, right? If you believe that you can pass an audition that you failed and it's a month later, all right. If you learned everything you got to know, go for it, right? But it depends on the personalities, right? I mean, Skylar can tell you he did my audition at the Hard Rock. It's cool seeing him in the chat, and that was a beast of an audition at the Hard Rock. Let's see. Luke says, "Hi Mark, hi Nancy. Hey, what's up? Oh, thank you. You spelled my name correctly. You spelled it wrong and then you fixed it. I appreciate that. You know, it's the effort that counts." Phoenix says, does CCH require you to wear certain clothing? They provide you with a uniform shirt, and you have to wear like black pants and black shoes. And I don't think they provide anybody with shoes. I know I didn't get any. I'm sorry, with pants. I know I didn't get any pants from them, but that might have just been because I haven't. But I don't think they provide them. Also, it's a card room instead of a casino, so it's a bit more laid back. Like, you know, in some of the poker rooms I worked at in casinos, like the Seminoles, for instance, like, you know, the girls weren't allowed to wear incredibly sexy like black pants, but it seems to be fine at Texas Card House as long as they're the correct colors, and I don't see anything wrong with that either. Jung, hey, what's up? It's been a while. It says, greetings and what a wonderful Sunday, Mark. I agree. Which poker dealer school should be recommended by you? You know, it's interesting. I don't have one that I work with, and I probably should. I have not spent much time exploring poker dealer schools, but man, does that make sense for me to set up a relationship with one that I totally believe in the skill set of. So as of right now, I don't know. I can tell you that I've had conversations with the director a few years ago before COVID in Ohio, one of the Penn properties. I forget the name of it, but you can send me an email if you're interested. They ran free schools every 3 to 6 months, and I heard good things about it. They were 8-week all-inclusive schools. I don't know if they're still doing that, but back then they, you know, they were always looking for dealers, and not as many people wanted to move to Ohio. It might have been like Columbus, but I could be totally making that up. And like, I think of scenarios like that, like the Hard Rock in Hollywood, Florida, they have run schools in the past. So anytime you can get into a school in an actual casino, that leads you to a job, right? They're teaching you exactly what they want. It's going to be on a high level, and then that leads you in to get a job. But I mean, I teach a course on YouTube, and I only charge $49.99 a month for somebody to learn Texas Hold'em. So it's hard for me to suggest that somebody pays $1,000 to $2,000, you know, in order to go to a poker dealer school when, I mean, I teach it on YouTube. You learn literally everything you need to know from scratch, start to finish, right here on YouTube. If you join my channel for $49.99 a month to learn Texas Hold'em, if you want the mixed games, it's $99.99 a month. So it's hard for me to recommend dealer school because I think you could do it without it, but everybody's different. If you need the personal one-on-one training, I should partner with a dealer school, and Does anybody in the chat have a paid dealer school that they believe that I should reach out to and sort of check out and then possibly partner up with? And just keep in mind, I am very picky. Let's see. Luke says, we deal on a single table from anywhere from 40 minutes to 2 hours and 20 minutes with a 20-minute break. Wow, that sounds like table games. In table games, that's how it works. In my experience, there are table games places where a dealer will be a primary dealer on a table game, such as blackjack or something like that, and then there'll be a breaker that hits up this table, hits up that table, hits up that table, hits up that table, and then goes to break themselves, right? And so that's why you end up with something like that. I haven't seen that in poker before, but because I know that that's a dynamic in table games, maybe that makes sense. And see, I'm back to Skylar saying meet up. So let's see. It's so windy. I don't have any control over the wind, but I'm embarrassed because I think it's making too much noise here. I want you guys to have a good experience. Let's see. And how many days for the person to be certified as a poker dealer? Usually, in order to complete a poker dealing course, you need to put in about 140 hours of dedicated time, both learning the lessons and practice. And that is, like, it's not something that you can multitask. Like, you cannot practice, like, learn the lessons and watch any of my videos anyway while you're doing anything else at the same time. Like, you can't be eating dinner and sort of checking out the videos for the first time and learning it. You got to be real focused, locked in, take it serious all the way from beginning to end. It is difficult to pass a casino poker dealing audition. There's no question about it. Luke says, depends, I think, where I work. Trainee for 6 months. After that, you're a dealer. Right. 6 months is a long time. You know, you can get in and out in 6 weeks if you're in the right school, or if you're like going super hard on my lessons. Even with my course, all my videos, you watch them at home, right? Well, those videos that you watch at home, you can't like grind 8 hours worth of just watching those videos in a row. You need time to digest it. You might need to rewatch stuff sometimes. Like, there's a lot. And I'm saying this not to try to discourage you. I just want you guys to get a real true picture of it. Also, I think it's worth saying, sometimes people don't say this enough. If you're thinking about being a casino employee, you have to accept the fact that you're going to be working holidays and weekends as well, and nights potentially. So I'm saying that too, because sometimes, you know, people put a lot of effort in and they don't realize that they're going to be working holidays, and then they get like all weird about it. And it's a good thing to know going into it that, like, it takes years working in a poker room before you don't have to be the one coming in at that point. Luke says, depends, I think. Oh, yeah, never mind. Zombie says, heavy focus is an understatement. I had my first experience dealing a home game last night. You really need a clear head. Yeah, absolutely. Nancy said, I know a dealer that just quit a room for the reason that they have 1 hour pushes. So I haven't heard of these long pushes. 30 minutes is the standard. I've heard of 40 minutes. That's interesting that they'd be doing hour-long pushes. I don't really know what to say to that, but I definitely appreciate you sharing that. It's interesting. This is one of my favorite things about doing these live streams and having this YouTube channel is people from all different walks of life and places in the country share their experiences here, and you really get a lot of perspective, which is really cool. Phoenix says, do you keep your own tips or do dealers share all tips? Most of the time, the poker dealers are going to keep their own tips. Occasionally, there's a room that pulls the tips. You know, I saw one of them in New Hampshire recently, last year. But most of the time, the dealers keep their own tips. A lot of the time, there's a tip out, which is maybe 10-ish%, depending on where you work. And that tip out goes to the supervisors and stuff that, you know, they do a good job. And that's something that allows the poker room to profit and also get the supervisors on a pay scale that's competitive with the dealers. Luke says, Nancy, here I've done from 1:40 a.m. to 4:40 a.m. on a single table. It was gross. What room is this? I have to ask. Like, Where are they having you do this table games version of poker dealing? Uh, I don't like hearing that. GG, hey, what's up? Says Nancy. I think working 1 hour before a push is fine. 12 hours with no break is another story. Yeah, that's for sure. Vin says Mizrachi Dealer Academy. I have not interacted with them in a really long time. I have actually been there before years and years ago, and they've got a good setup. I know Stacy does a good job. I mean, my personal view on the Mizrachi Dealer Academy is that they have this poker player mentality a little bit more so than I would want, and I think they do a good job and train good dealers. And right now, if somebody were to go to the Mizrachi Dealer Academy, which I don't know the degree to which they're still running, sorry, the wind is blowing so hard it's literally blowing my computer monitor. If someone were to go to the Mizrachi Dealer Academy, you'd be more than well enough trained, I think. But I also prefer to only speak as like, this school is a yes if I have had experiences with them where it's like that. And you know, some people have told me they didn't love it there, and I don't know exactly what to say about that. I do have a lot of respect for Stacy. I don't know. I mean, I've dealt to and interacted with both Mike and Robert, but I don't really know them. So, I mean, look, maybe if they invite me to the school one day and I can see what they got going on, I can give them a strong recommendation. Nick says, Tony Shelton Dealing School is great in Vegas. All right, cool to know. Perhaps I'll check that one out. Man, this wind is killing me. Tin, hey, what's up? Good luck in your upcoming audition. Super appreciate meeting with you the other day. Ooh, I got a lot of comments coming in here. I didn't realize how many comments I had. John says, would your courses be able to be included to become a WSOP dealer? You can take my mixed game course. It has everything you need in order to be a WSOP dealer. It is very windy here. I really apologize for that. What am I going to do about this? Let me try to turn this way. I don't know what to say. I'm just going to keep doing it like this. My cable fell out. Alright, hopefully this is better. Yeah, so you can take my mix on YouTube. Alright, YouTube is the only place I have this. On YouTube, if you sign up for the Mixed Game Omaha and Stud, that includes Texas Hold'em, and it includes everything you need in order to be able to deal in the WSOP games. And like, I'm proud of that. I'm also not affiliated with them at all, so they're not the ones saying that, but I totally believe in myself and everything that I taught, and you should be fine if you learn all that. Although I should go back and evaluate just to make sure that I've taught everything in those 19 games that I read out earlier. Tin says, I learned a lot from Mark. I had an audition with him yesterday, and he helped me a lot. Yeah, we did a one-on-one video session, and man, it's tough, right? It's tough being under that much pressure, being judged, getting all that feedback, but you did a great job, and I'm excited to see the progress that you make. And yeah, I think you said you had an audition on Tuesday, so I'm excited for you. And Tin was lucky enough. I actually went to my original True Poker Dealer table at Jerry's house, and I did his session there, which was fun. GG, I'm visiting 2 this week around Tampa for a little refresher. Let me know what to look for, and I'll report back. Visiting 2 this week around Tampa for a little refresher. Oh, talking about 2 schools. Oh, interesting. Right, yeah, you said dealer schools below. I see it now. Man, honestly, I don't know that would be something that I'd be able to communicate. It's like the details are really what I look for something like that. Those details make a huge difference. And just having been in and around it so much, those details are things that scream out to me, but I don't know exactly what I'd be able to say. I guess, let me see. Yeah, I don't know exactly how to answer that. I appreciate your willingness. Maybe the thing I can say is, anything that you experience in these schools, like, tell me how you feel like people are learning, how the communication is. Does it feel like the people are making improvement, getting the stuff that they're getting? Do they have answers to all the questions? What are some of the answers? Like, if you tell me I asked them this question and then they told me this answer, that's something that will totally help me have perspective on them. Let me see. I don't know how to pronounce this. Kian, the hazard. Hey Mark, is it possible that these auditions could be different in other countries? I live in Canada, so I don't know if they're the same as the U.S. Well, I think Canada is going to be pretty similar. Um, there's definitely differences between countries, like for sure. Um, some of them are drastic, some of them are not. But I have a lot of people across the world, like all these different countries, Germany and Italy and uh, England. I get a lot of people from the UK that take my course, and they don't seem to tell me that there's anything wrong with my course in relation to what they experience in their country. But I would also assume that there are differences for sure. I know that the tipping structure is different out in those places. Nancy says, I'm a big proponent of learning the game, playing online for free money, practicing dealing in bar games, local tournaments, etc. Yeah, I totally agree with that. Although when you do deal in bar leagues, they're not always going to correct you if you need correction, so you can form bad habits, but for the most part, it's much better to get that practice because you get that interaction with the customers and all that stuff, which is very valuable. Luke says, I'm going part-time next week, 2 10-hour shifts a week. The poker room isn't going in a good direction. Oh, I see. Well, sorry to hear that. And I feel like you've been on here before and you've said some of the crazy stuff that's changed in that. Nancy says, Cherokee, is Mizraki still going? As far as I know they are, but I don't actually know firsthand. Luke says, Asper's London. Speaking of which, I gotta go. I start in an hour 45. All right. Well, it was good to have you here. Appreciate you. Nancy says, I think not. In terms of Mizraki, I'm guessing. I thought they were, but I'm not sure. Vince says, Mark, where do you think I would make more money as a poker dealer? The Tampa Seminole Hard Rock or the Hollywood Seminole Hard Rock? My guess, based on what I've been hearing recently, is probably Tampa. I don't have enough sources, but I've heard that the Hollywood Hard Rock, while it's still good and there's so many tables, I was literally in there for like maybe a minute and a half last night at 11:30. They do have a series going on. Every single table is full at the Hollywood Hard Rock, but some of the dealers have said that the money's gone down a little bit. I don't know for sure that that's true. Tampa, I can imagine that they just make great money all the time. I really do think that. But look, there's nothing wrong with the Hard Rock, the Hollywood Hard Rock. I know how badly they need dealers there too. What are some questions I should ask in an interview for Floorman? I'm assuming that you're saying that you're the one that's being interviewed and you want to know what questions to ask them. And it's like, the thing I want to say is an experienced floor would sort of instinctively know what they need to know. I can tell you, if it's me going into a poker room, the types of questions that I ask are for a floor interview. Well, I ask what the pay is. You might think that's a discouraging question, and I wouldn't lead with that, but I mean, some poker rooms, they pay like flat $20 an hour, which I'm not for that, not anymore anyway. Let me see. I would ask how the rotation is run. I would ask, let's see, how many floor work at any given time. I would ask what the hierarchy structure is in that particular poker room. I would ask, like, do they have a poker room manager and then just a bunch of supervisors, stuff like that. I would ask what the process is for rule changes to be made. I would ask, so I wouldn't ask this, but I would work pretty hard to get a sense of how well everybody works together. You can sort of have some awesome situations or some brutal situations where the supervisors are always beefing or they get along pretty well. One of the toughest things about being a supervisor in some poker rooms is you sort of can't be social with people that you work with, but if you can find a room where the supervisors are social with each other, that's pretty cool. But I mean, that's all great. Like, the real stuff you need to know, they're going to be asking you if you can do the job, and as long as you can do the job, you'll be in good shape. But that's sort of, in my experience, most of it is them asking you questions and you showing how professional you are and how on it you are, and that's a lot of what happens. Let's see. Joshua says, I've dealt from 7 p.m. to 8 a.m. at home games with only 3 15 to 20 minute breaks the entire night. Yes, that is common. And it is pretty grindy, but I'm sure you got great money. Tin says, hey Mark, what it takes to open a poker room business? More than I could possibly answer in this live stream. The amount of knowledge that you need in order to open a poker room is so far above and beyond what you need in order to deal it, in order to supervise it, and in order to manage it. You have to know how to run a cage, you have to know how to run, and there's a lot to that, and it has to be perfect. You have to know the federal laws, you have to know the state laws, you have to know what the regulations are in the specific place you're doing it. You have to know how to space out the electric in the room, right? Like, each table has power in most poker rooms. You need to know which tables to order. You have to know how to interact with vendors. I mean, it's just like, I actually did a live stream with the director of poker that was opening a room in Virginia. It's called Opening a Poker Room from Scratch. You can go and find that past live stream and you get some insight into a lot of that. It's a lot that goes into it. It's not easy, it's complicated, and it always makes me laugh when poker players think they can open poker rooms. No offense if you've thought that before, said that before, not you specifically, but you know what I mean. But yeah, it's like, there's a lot to it, and you have to be able to manage people and perform this business at a high level with a lot of intricate details all happening at the same time. It's just, there's a ton to it, really truly a ton to it. Gigi says, I got you, thanks. Vio says, hey Mark, do you know the salary in Canada? How is it, and do the dealers share the tips? I don't know how that works in different rooms in Canada. I'm trying to think if I have been told. Like, Canada's different because the government takes an enormous piece of the pie. It makes it so that, in my experience, the rooms in Canada haven't had things like comps, but that was like 10 years ago that I was paying attention to that. I don't know about what it's been like now. I do know that Playground is considered one of the best rooms in Canada. They have a ton of tables. They're intelligent owners. They're innovative people. And like, I would refer you to any questions that you have about Canada specifically. Like, just call them up. The owners are such nice people. I met them in 2017 at the ARIA at the TDA Summit. I have that feeling like if you call them up and you ask to talk to a floor, you'll actually get those answers, because they just, when the owners are awesome people in a poker room, usually the staff reflects that. It's the same thing with Texas Card House in Dallas. Like, I've said this before here. One of the major reasons why I have been out there working at all is because the GM, Victor, out there is someone that I am very good friends with, that I became friendly with at Calder Casino and Racecourse in South Florida years ago. Like, I hired him. I was a supervisor then, and he was just getting into the industry, and he is such a, like, at the end of the day, he really wants his people to be taken care of. He wants things to run smoothly, and it shows in the way that the room runs. And that he's not the owner, he is just the GM, but nonetheless, that type of thing reflects down. So the owners are a bit more hands-on at Playground, from what I understand, and because of that, I'm under the impression that they're going to have staff that can really help get you any answers you need about Canada. That being said, if you had questions or a conversation with them, I would actually be curious to know what that experience was like with Playground in Canada. Zombie says, I'm going to join for the basic course in the next few days, planning to build a table to practice on. Anything I should consider from a dealer perspective? Let's see. Like, you're talking about building into the table? I mean, I would put a rack in the table personally. But as long as you have a poker table, chips, cards, I mean, a bank is the most optimal way to do it in order to practice properly. Have your felt, so have a pretty good felt, and have some foam padding underneath it. It's pretty easy to get that wrong, actually. Where do you go? Like, there's poker rooms that get that wrong. I'm trying to think of where you would go in order to get that right. Um, Unfortunately, I don't have a good answer for that at the moment. Yeah, look, I don't build tables myself. I wish I had that skill set. You know, I've been a part of building tables before, but I don't exactly have an answer to that. Usually, I don't get stumped, but every once in a while. Um, but yeah, you do have to make sure that you have padding underneath the felt. I mean, that's for sure. And beyond that, um, you know what? You can send me an email with this question, and I will get back to you. I want to answer your question. Send me an email. I'll do a little bit of research and help you with what you want. And that way you can also ask me a little bit more specific questions too, so I can know even more of what you're really asking about. Joseph says, hey man, I have a pretty basic question. If a player inadvertently raises a bet, the standard rule is if the bet is half the legal raise, it is automatically a min raise. So let's say that a player doesn't say anything. So there's an unclear bet rule here. If a player doesn't say anything and pushes in more than half of or half or more than a raise, like let's say that it's a $100 bet for the first person, the second person pushes out a stack of red chips that's $150, between $150 and $200, then they're going to be forced to put in 200. You as the dealer you're not going to explain it to them unless they ask. You're just going to say, okay, I need that to be 200. That's more than half a raise, something like that. That said, I can't guarantee that every single poker room has that same rule. So that's a common rule, but I can't guarantee it's everywhere. So ultimately, you got to learn the rules wherever you work. But like if you're dealing a home game and you're trying to get things casino similar, then yeah, that's what you would do. Now, in a different case, or if someone bets 100 and then another person says 175, that's the same thing. They've committed themselves to 175, and then you make them raise. In a previous live stream, somewhat recently, I talked about a place that has more chill rules, and we had that whole discussion. But the general, simplest, most basic, straightforward way to handle that situation is to force them to put that raise in. Yes. Let's see. Nancy says, hey, Zombie, great. We're here for any questions. Yep. D, thanks for your answer. Good luck. Skylar says, what are the house rules that differ? I think you're talking about in Texas. The house rules that differ from Hard Rock and Hollywood, they seem to be pretty on point in Texas. Well, one house rule that's like, because they pay time everywhere, this sort of like fundamentally bugged me when I first got out there, but I just went with it. If you miss your small blind only in a cash game, then when the button still goes in front of you in the next hand, and you can, as a player, you can actually post a dead small and play your button. Like it sort of made my skin crawl when I first heard about that rule out there, but whatever makes them happy. Like every region, something I learned as true poker dealers, every single region has this stuff that they've gotten used to that they expect, that even if it sort of undermines a little bit of integrity, it's easier to just sort of go with it. That's one example. Let's see, what else do they have there? I mean, there's a lot of details probably like this that hold on, let me just send you a response because you reached out and asked if the number was the same, and I'm going to try to get back to you on that. Let's see. Wow, opening a poker room sounds like a great live stream. Yeah, I like that live stream a lot. Opening a poker room from scratch was a really cool one, and I want to do a follow-up with Rich. Vin says, once you earn your poker dealer certificate, it's 6 for life, right? Or do you have to go back from time to time and get like re-educated in a sense? Believe it or not, the poker dealer certificate is relatively meaningless in this industry. It's more about whether or not you've learned enough to do the job. Occasionally I'll run into a poker room that in their auditions they care about whether or not someone has a certificate, but for the most part they just want to know that you can deal, and perhaps that's a mistake by the industry, but it seems to be what happens. So at any given time, no matter what you've done in your life, you need to prove in an audition that you can deal. It's just that simple. That's how you get a job. And occasionally they require a poker dealer certificate or a place of previous employment. because not everybody gets a poker dealer certificate, right? If you get trained on the job or you get trained in-house, you're not going to have one because you didn't go to a school. You sort of learned there. I'm getting a phone call and I'm going to answer it just to be funny. Hey, I'm in the middle of the live stream, so I'm going to jump off unless it's something that you want to share with the whole live stream audience. Okay, I will. Bye. Jazz said, tell them I said hi. All right. Let's see. Nancy said so many great questions today. Yeah, totally. I appreciate that and agree with it. Let's see. Nancy said, I worked with Victor for a minute at Horseshoe, Baltimore. Great guy. Yeah, he is. Lil Venice says, hi, Mark. Do you think poker rooms that offer dealers a low base rate should still give 10% of their tips to the floors and other staff, or should the casino card room take care of that? So I do, I am a poker dealer. I have been a poker supervisor. So I've been the one receiving the tips, and I've been the one paying the 10% or whatever it is. I've also consulted with poker rooms, and I've had conversations about the bottom line for the poker rooms. Poker rooms really don't make that much money. And I know, it's easy to say, what do you mean they don't make money? It's easy to get all upset and triggered about stuff. But the truth of the matter is, it's very hard to run a poker room profitably. It really is. There are plenty of poker rooms out there that actually lose money. So to just, without knowing what it's like looking at the numbers, which I've looked at them, without knowing what it's like looking at the numbers, I think that it's actually a great thing to have this tip out, because the dealers make pretty good money and the supervisors get that extra bump, and the poker room can still exist in a profitable way where everybody gets cared about. And so I like it a lot personally, as long as it's being done legally and blah, 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 blah. It's very difficult to just, because, as an employer, in most places, when you pay payroll, so every dollar that you're paying, you also have to pay taxes on top of that. Sometimes it's as much as 50% of the amount that you're paying the employee, you have to pay to the government too. It's different in different places. But it's one of those things where it's easy to just say, hey, casinos make a lot of money. Poker rooms really don't make that much money. You have to grind an incredible amount, open a lot of tables in order to be able to truly be profitable. And it's not like they make nothing, right? But compared to the rest of the casino and stuff, if we were talking about table games, I would probably be like, yeah, table games, the casinos should just pay the floor more. And even that might not be fair, because I haven't run those numbers myself. But yeah, poker, just because of the nature of the business and the profit margins not being super big, I actually do support that practice fully. And I know that dealers sometimes think to themselves, well, I could be making 10% more than I'm making, and I know how much I'm making, so I know how much 10% more is. And I just say, be appreciative of the fact that the room is trying to get better supervisors for you by paying the supervisors a competitive wage where they don't just want to be dealers. I really mean that. It's just my personal opinion, but I do think it's a good thing. That being said, as a dealer, if I am tipping out supervisors, I expect a certain level of treatment. I really do. And you don't always get that from the people that get hired there. So there is that weirdness to it, because they are disciplining you and stuff like that sometimes. Although maybe they're not. Maybe it's the shift leads to do that. But yeah, there's a lot of complicated answer to that. But overall I do like it. Yes. Thanks, Mark. Will do. Thanks, Nancy. Dan says, I'm currently being trained by MGM to become a poker dealer. What's your advice for a trainee like me? Well, if you're getting trained by MGM, I'm going to make the assumption that they know what the hell they're doing. So take it seriously. Help other people in the class. Show that you're a good person in addition to just a poker dealer. I apologize for the background sound. There's a couple that was sat behind me to eat. I'm at a local Marriott here. I am going to wrap it up pretty quick, just to say it. It's sort of an uncomfortable situation for me to be doing a live stream. I just wanted to make sure I didn't forget about you guys while I'm on this trip. Let me try to get through these questions really quickly. Let's see. But yeah, so to answer that, being trained, take it serious. Sleeping after each day is one of the most important things that you could possibly do. because you're learning so many details, and they need to sort of integrate. When you get REM sleep, that REM sleep is something that really allows proper connections to be made in your brain. And I'm like dead serious about this. Make sure that you're sleeping every single night as much as you can. Like 7+ hours makes a huge difference when you're going in and you're learning a whole bunch of new stuff. Like you'll learn stuff on your own. It'll just sink into your brain. The movements with your hands is a lot of difficult mechanics to learn, all that stuff. And I mean, look, I'm gonna plug myself. I'm gonna say, you know, if you supplement with my course, it'll certainly help. You'll gain perspective. You'll understand why certain things are done that they're not going to have time to necessarily explain, and you'll have access to all that information. But even without that, like, take it serious is my real answer. Without having any experience with MGM's training, I tend to have confidence with a brand like that. Joseph says, practice pitching and handling chips a lot. I'm currently relearning the pitch, and it's hell because I didn't learn it properly the first time. Yes. Skylar says, use carpet padding or find closed cell foam. I love that you shared that. Thank you. Joseph says, I have a related question. Why is scissor pitching so frowned upon? I've been told that you can't even pass an audition if you scissor pitch. I mean, some rooms will allow you to scissor pitch, but for the most part, yes, it is frowned upon. It is considered not to be as professional. I think it's just like a look. It doesn't look as clean. It looks sort of like you're swallowing the cards with your hand when you're delivering them. And I think that at one point it was considered to maybe not be as fast. I think people have proven that wrong, but I don't have a specific answer for why it's not considered professional. However, if I thought about it for a bit, I could probably figure some out. But I will ask that question to auditioners in different places. I generally request that people retrain themselves if they scissor pitch in casino, and when I'm in card rooms, I just let it go if their scissor pitch appears to be okay. And that's another thing that's pretty interesting for you guys to realize. I have different criteria depending on what the casino or poker room is, right? If it's a card room, I'm much more relaxed. One of the benefits of dealing underground is usually the underground dealers, they have terrible mechanics, and sometimes I require them to fix it. But the idea is, if you are an underground dealer, you probably know what the hell you're doing, right? So there's a huge benefit there. Let's see. Dan says, I think I got those right. Joseph. Cool.
I can slide that over, but I think that's gonna.
Kian says, what could be a possible consequence if a dealer is caught cheating a game, stacking the deck? It's a manipulative way to control cards. Yeah, jail is something that you could have. You just cheating in casinos, you definitely get fired. You can definitely have to pay fines, and depending on the severity of it, right? Like, I know people that have stolen in table games and they face criminal charges, right? You just don't want to do that stuff. Zombie says, thanks, Skylar. I did find some 1/4-inch closed cell foam locally from a store. It seems good, but I almost thought 1/2 inch would be better. I think 1/4 inch is good, yeah. And that's what Skylar says too. Yeah, I don't know the terminology of the foam. I just know that, like, I reach out to custom poker table builders whenever, like, I had my table built. It's a beautiful table. I don't remember the thickness of the foam, but I could go back and look it up. But it seems like we got our answer. Joseph says, I think so. Dan says, tell me more of your program and how much does it cost? My course, there's 2 ways to join. One, you can join my channel. Some countries don't allow it on YouTube, but there's a join button, like under my video, just next to the subscribe button. If you're on a computer, it's especially easy to see. And you have to make sure that you select the correct course version, though. Like the memberships, I have one that support me. It's $4.99 a month. That's not going to get you access to the course. That's just for people that want to support me, and I appreciate their support. $49.99 a month is the Texas Hold'em. You learn everything about dealing through the game of Texas Hold'em. You learn the game of Texas Hold'em. Yeah, you don't learn the mixed games that way. Mixed games, Omaha and Stud, that's a separate tier, and you can join that for $99.99 a month. I recommend to people that they do the Texas Hold'em one first, because all that content is also in the other course, and just learn how to deal poker through Texas Hold'em through YouTube, or you could also go to Truepokerdealer.com. I have a separate version of the Texas Hold'em course on my website. I'm going to add the other stuff at some point soon. Nancy says Mark's course is more, quote, on point than any other dealing program I've experienced. The nuances of the procedure and etiquette of this game is key to making the most money and being satisfied. Having satisfied players. Got it. Thanks, Mark, for taking time out today. We appreciate you. Appreciate you too, Nancy. Thank you for all the positivity throughout this. Definitely appreciate that. Let's see. Do you think I'll make it far with pouring most of my poker dealer income into income-producing assets as listed index funds within the stock market, real estate, and cryptocurrency? It's a tough time to make those decisions right now, but I do very much personally enjoy the notion of taking a fixed amount of money per check and putting it aside into investment. The stuff that you invest in is up to you, and I'm not really going to go too much into that, although I do have a passion for this conversation, but I've got people behind me and I feel sort of weird continuing this live stream for too much longer right now. So I'm going to say thank you guys, and appreciate you all, and send me an email for anyone that doesn't feel satisfied with the answers that you were trying to get in this live stream. Send me an email, mark@truepokerdealer.com, and I will get you whatever it is that you're looking for your questions answered as soon as I can. Take care, everybody.